the question is, once your building is marked as potentially earthquake prone, are we allowed to occupy it? Well, the usual answer is yes, you usually can occupy it because it's in the condition of the event of an earthquake. But you really do need to consider in detail whether the building should be occupied or should be restricted as well. So for example, you've done your detailed seismic assessment, which is down at the top. So if your assessment says it's below 34% new build standard, then you're going down the right-hand side. If it's not, you're going down the left-hand side. Is it less than 67%? So if no, then there's no problem at all. Write your final report with its recommendations and off you go. So as you probably know, if it's between 34 and 67, it's an earthquake risk. And if it's below 34%, it's earthquake prone. And it's usually the earthquake prone buildings that the client gets more upset about because the legal requirement to do something about it. And quite often occupiers or tenants don't want to be in an earthquake prone building. So the first thing you need to do is ask the simple question is, who's it going to kill? Will the failure of any of these elements endanger life? And if the answer to that is no, then you need to ask, will the failure of any of these elements damage adjacent properties? And if the answer to that one is no, then you probably don't have much of a problem and you can carry on occupying your building. So as we see, seismic assessments are primarily about life safety, but they're also about potential damage to adjacent buildings. Not your building, but potential outside buildings. So if either questions to those is yes, you may need to consider whether you've got progressive collapse potential. So if one element collapses, will another element collapse? So can the failed element that you're concerned about, if that fails, can the load be shed to something else? And if it is shed to something else, can that element carry the additional load? And if no, you're looking at progressive collapse. So consider the potential for disproportionate collapse. If yes, that would beg the question, is the structure stable and robust and fit for purpose? Again, this is a question that keeps popping up. And it's a question that should pop up in a structural engineer's mind. Is the structure stable, robust and fit for purpose? If yes, then you can deem that occupancy is acceptable. If no, then you may need to consider limitations on its use. So again, we'll come back to, is it beyond economic repair? And if yes, then it's probably unlikely to be deemed acceptable to be occupied. So consider the options for decommissioning and demolishing it. But quite often you're in the zone in between. So the repairs are not beyond the cost of the building. And so you may deem it acceptable to occupy it even in a limited way. So what temporary works will be required? So quite often a building will be considered earthquake prone if it's got any unreinforced brickwork in it. If you can isolate that area with the brickwork in it, then the rest of the building is good to go.